Like any man-made device, the tx2z has its flaws. In my opinion, the biggest flaws rate in this order: heat and noise at full power, display viewing angles in tablet mode and display glare, and finally, build quality issues. The heat and noise that the tx2z outputs at full power can be very distracting in my opinion. The noise isn't horrible, but it is very audible. The heat isn't really a problem at full power in laptop mode, but in primary portrait tablet mode I believe it to be very annoying. Here's what I mean. Here we have the unit in primary portrait tablet mode. In this configuration, the heat vents point towards the user, and even more so for a right-handed person, as the back heat vent will point towards your arm and hand. It's not going to fry you, but in a warm environment it will probably make you sweat. As you can see how your hand would typically be oriented in portrait tablet mode. Now, this issue can be mitigated a couple of ways. The first workaround is simply not to use the unit at full power in primary tablet mode, primary portrait tablet mode. Using the power saver mode, by going over to the battery icon in Windows Vista, you can change your power profile to something less than high performance. And that does cut down on the heat and noise significantly, and you'd probably be using the power saver mode anyway if you're running on battery. That said, you do lose the full performance of the machine, but if you're primarily taking notes at the time, it's not a big deal. Secondly, you could use the device in secondary portrait mode, which is in this orientation with the vents pointed away from your body and hand if you're right-handed. But the problem with that then is it leads to the second problem, which are the display viewing angles. In my opinion, the display overall is at best adequate for a tablet PC device. The viewing angles are simply not good in primary tablet orientations, and in secondary orientations I think they're much worse. This can be mitigated to some degree by setting up profiles in the ATI Catalyst Center. I've set up a profile that I use when I'm using the unit in what I call sleep mode, which is when I'm using the unit lying in the bed. I've cut down on the gamma and the brightness and contrast a little bit, using it in primary portrait mode, and that does help, though it's not a seamless solution. This other problem with the display is glare, which with the lighting I have in this room you can probably notice. The light is overhead from the table, and you can see that there's a fair amount of glare on the screen. I'm not exactly sure why HP goes with the high gloss screens. I'm investigating some screen protectors that I've seen for the tx2z series machine, which has an identical layout to the tx2z. So hopefully there is a solution for the glare problem. Lastly, let's talk about the build quality. In part 2 of the review, the tour, I had shown these felt pads that I've put at the back corners of the device. Without these pads, just about any pressure on the screen in tablet mode would cause an annoying shifting of the screen. So basically the screen would pop down, as you can see, like the pad, how the pad prevents the screen from flexing down, and that happened on the other side as well. And those pads pretty much eliminate that problem. However, my sister-in-law has a tx2z series machine, which has an identical chassis to the tx2z, and her machine didn't seem to have this problem. And even with the pads, there's a slight flexing of the screen. I think you can see that pretty clearly, how not a lot of pressure on the edge will cause the screen to flex laterally. Though that's not really an annoying problem when you're holding the tablet like on the desk. It's still pretty comfortable to write with, even holding it up like this. So hopefully HP can get at least the screen security issue fixed, and make this a little bit better, since the tx2z that my sister-in-law had, like I said, didn't seem to have a problem. So this is an early production unit. I ordered it on November 29th, just as these the tx2z came out. So hopefully that can get a little sorted out. So these are my primary gripes with the unit. These aren't showstoppers for me, but without these flaws, I think the tx2z goes from being a very good device to an exceptional one. So now that we've covered the gripes, let's look at why this still is a great device in spite of the flaws in the next part of the review.